probably has plans, family things going on this evening, so we'll try to get right on to business. We are in the middle of a session. We have been, this is an official board meeting, and we have been in recess since our agenda meeting was over a few minutes after 5, so we will reconvene at 5:30. We are back in session. And so our next agenda item is item number 4 on tonight's agenda, and that is the informational presentation and our special millage election. Ms. Nikki Thomas, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you for being here tonight just to get some more information about the millage election coming up. We wanted to take some time just to share with you the reasons that we need to build a new high school and the reason for the millage ask. So I'm going to go through a presentation with you that will kind of go over the reasons, the different components that will be in the new school, and then after that, there will be an opportunity if you have questions that you'll be able to ask those questions, and myself or board members or some of my district staff that are here, also our financial advisors here, Motivance, county assessors here, our school resource officer will be, I think he's out in the lobby. So we'll have lots of people available to hopefully be able to help answer questions that you have lingering when I'm done with the presentation. Okay, so we are asking for a millage increase to build a new high school to replace this building that we're in right now. We want to do this just again to invest in our students. We have been able to build a new middle school that opened in 2019, a new elementary school that opened just last year, and then this would complete our project of schools where we would be replacing 5 schools that were on the Warm, Safe, and Dry needs replacement list in the top 30. In fact, we had number 1, we had a couple of top 10, and then we would have 3 new schools to replace those 5 old schools with in our district. So this would be, again, for grades 9 through 12 for Arkadelphia High School. The reason we need this now is the state has identified our school as having reached the end of its life. It's 53 years old, built in 1972, and right now it's ranked number 26 out of 1,018 schools in our state as needing to be replaced. And we love to be in the top 25 and about anything, but not on this list. This is not a good place to be. As you can see over on the right of the screen, we've got some pictures. Sorry, the wrong button. Our roof, we patch, and it just continues to rot. We've got some others here. We've got ceiling tiles. We're replacing them all the time, and we continue to have leaks. We patch our roof all the time, and the leaks move. They go right back where they were. The design was just not great for the age of this building. It's just aged out. The state has assigned us a building value of -8%. When a school reaches 50 years old, you're a 0, and then after that it's declining value. And then the next slide we'll talk about what that means. So what that means is they have identified through inspections, annual inspections, that all of our major systems have failed. They're failing. Our roof, our HVAC, our electrical and plumbing all need replacement. The estimated cost to replace those systems would be over 16 to 19 million in the next 5 to 10 years. Because there are some other issues with our school, and I believe it's on maybe another slide, but we also, the amount of repairs needed, the state says that it's more prudent to actually replace the school than to do the repairs. But some other problems with the current school, our classrooms don't meet the state size standards. Today, you're supposed to have 850 square foot classrooms. We do not have that at Arkadelphia High School. We have inadequate power for modern technology. When our students are trying to test through the technology, which is how we have to test, online, we cannot a lot of the time support all of those at one time. The students lose connection. We just have some real issues with that. Failing heating and cooling systems. I know that is Mr. King, our maintenance director's biggest fear is losing our our air because it was a chiller that was installed in 1972, and it's very difficult to find replacement parts or have it fixed when something happens. And then again, it just does not meet the needs for a safe, modern learning environment as defined by the state of Arkansas. Just on the right side of the you'll see a chart showing just what we've spent in the past 5 years on just basically putting a Band-Aid on, trying to keep them going. So we have spent almost $1 million just in trying to keep these systems going. Including sound, over the past 5 years. And this is what I mentioned. There's a cost effectiveness ratio. Our condition index is valued at 74.8%, and the state says 65% threshold is where you need to replace the school rather than systems for repair. With a new school, we have several goals, and one is to create a more safe and secure school for our students and staff. We would have modern access control for our doors, outside and inside. We have this at our new Peak Elementary School now, so we use an electronic key fob to come in and out rather than standard keys, which get lost or stolen, and people can get in and out of schools. With the electronic key fobs, we're able to turn those on or off if someone loses them or someone loses the district. So it does keep people from being able to come and go, which we've had a problem with in the past when we've had buildings that we weren't using anymore, and people still had keys floating around, and we would see vandalism and some problems there. Right now we have about 18 exterior doors on this building. Officer Lau is constantly going around this building making sure they're shut, they're locked, and that they're not propped, that no one can get in. So we would have fewer entries to our school with the new floor plan. Also, it would have improved sight lines and control. Just kind of. So if you can see this red dot here, you would come in the building right here. That would be a shared lobby for the gym, the auditorium, and then coming up into the instructional part of the school. There would be a gate right in here that would drop once students are in, that would secure the school. And also from when we have events at night. This right here would be our classroom wing. We would have 2 stories of straight line hallway classrooms, which would be much better for security, supervision, access of emergency personnel if there was something going on. Like I said, there'd be 2 stories right here. This little opening right here where the red dot is would be a little corridor of student restrooms that would be individual restrooms, not a community restroom with stalls. So that would eliminate some problems that we sometimes encounter there. And then we also would have back here a FEMA-rated storm shelter. We do not currently have that. Any of our schools except Peak has a separate safe room. That is a new state law requiring any new facility to have this FEMA safe room shelter. And when I talk about better floor plan for supervision, this is what I'm talking about. This is our current floor plan out here. We are right here, right now. And this actually used to be the old office space when this was built originally. You've got band room back here, cafeteria back there, library here in the middle area. That was originally the high school and the gymnasium. And around 2000, early 2000s, there was a millage to build the stadium and also to add on to the high school for 9th grade to move there from, it was junior high at the time, they changed to middle school format, moved 9th grade out here. And at that time, this area, tech wing and auxiliary gym was built on, English wing and a new office space was built on, some other areas through here. But if you look at some of the shapes of these classrooms, I mean, it's like whatever we kind of fit in there, and they're not all large enough or to size. I mean, we've got some really strangely shaped classrooms. And just the fact of the hallways, there's no clear line of vision. It is a maze out here. I know every year at open house, students are going around looking for room 207. And I have to say, who's the teacher? Because, I mean, it's a maze. And Officer Lyle will tell you again, it's difficult to identify where a sound is coming from when they do safety drills out here. It's also very difficult for just emergency personnel to find the classroom they need to be in right away. It's just not a great setup. And when it was built, you know, active shooters, things like that, school shootings weren't prevalent in our country. But in today's time, we've got to be prepared, you know, for whatever and keep our students and staff safe. Key features of the proposed facility, outside of our classroom wings, we would also have the Fine Arts Auditorium, a Career Education Center, a sports arena, a multi-use covered outdoor field, safe room, and it would be located directly behind the current high school. So it would still be facing the same direction the high school is facing now, but it would start in the back parking lot here and move back into the wooded area behind the school. We own land that goes back into that area. Once completed, the state does require us to demolish this building as a condition of the partnership funding, and then this would be turned into some more parking spaces. So the new Fine Arts Auditorium would be larger than what we have now. The state does require you to be able to seat your entire student body, which is close to 600 students now, so it would be a 600 seat auditorium, which would also be great. The stages now are also larger by state requirement, so we would be able to actually host our own band concerts, choir performances. Even elementary school or middle school could have some of their performances. This could be a district performing arts center for our students. The sports arena, our gymnasium, I don't know if any of you have been in our current gymnasium, especially in August for a volleyball game, but there's no air, so it gets very hot in there, and when the band goes out, it's even worse. But this would be an air-conditioned gym. It would be, you would enter from the top, which would also have some handicap accessible places for wheelchairs and all, be much better for ADA compliance. And it would also have 1,800 seats, which would meet the state requirements to host regional and state events. And that's a big thing for our community, because if people are coming in to regional and state events, then they're going to be buying gas here, they're going to be buying food here, they may be staying here or nearby. So this could bring some opportunity to our community to serve more people. It's also large enough that we could have on-campus graduation ceremonies. We have not been able to do that. I didn't graduate. I graduated in 90, and it was, I think then it was at OBU, Henderson. We go to Henderson now. So we would be able to host our own graduation ceremonies. And a lot of people think about an arena and gymnasium associated with basketball, but we have a lot of student organizations that use that gym. Basketball, yes, but we also have volleyball. We have winter guard, so our color guard for marching seasons, and they also perform during the winter in practice. We have wrestling, and all of these, use the facility, but they also could have regional and state tournament events here. Career Education Center. One thing that over the past couple of years, the community, well, not just the past couple of years, but several years, the community has wanted to reinstate an agricultural education program in Arkadelphia Public Schools. It was last in the school system in 1972, and that's been a big push. A lot of people want to bring that back and bring FFA back to Arkadelphia. So we did some community surveys, business surveys, student surveys, parent surveys, took that data to see what was the interest and what was the need. What's skills do our students need to be able to leave high school and work in our community. And based on that, we started an agricultural education program for power and structures. And one of the requirements for that program is to have a workspace for our students after their first introductory program. So what's pictured here is a workspace for agricultural education mechanics lab, where students would learn electricity, engine repair, welding, construction, and they would also have an adjacent classroom, and other career ed would have classroom space as well in our classroom wings. But again, this is a response to a community need that we committed to, our board committed to, and this is one of the requirements to fulfill that. A multi-use practice pavilion would be constructed in the area that is between the field house and the bus barn, if you know where that is on the side of the school. It would be a 60-yard facility, not a full-length field, about a half field. And the renderings, the pictures look like it's enclosed. It's not an enclosed facility. It's not like what Ouachita has. It would actually be beams and a roof that's covered, but it would be airflow through. But it would provide a facility for our band, JROTC, cheer, dance, and athletics to practice year-round, no matter the weather conditions. And that would be a big thing for our students. I know our band and our football struggle even in the summer with heat index and the turf temp and things that, you know, they can't get out in that heat. So it takes away practice time, but also, even when it's not hot enough to not practice, it's hot. Our band practices on black asphalt right now. It's hot. So we could help keep them healthy with this practice facility. We also have a lot of Pee-wee sports, so this would also extend the use of our current field, because we could have practices and things here, not always be using the field that we play on for those practices. The financial plan for this is basically a community partnership. Because of where we fall on the Warm, Safe, and Dry list of needing replacement, the state is willing right now, in fact they granted us the largest amount they granted any school in this funding cycle, $19 million to help us build this new high school. But we have to come up with the rest locally to be able to access that $19 million. We don't get to put it away for when we want it. We don't get to come back and get it later if we turn it back now. We've got to use it now, or they redistribute it to other school districts that are on that list right behind us. And the total cost of the project is estimated to be about $62 million. It's estimated construction cost of $400 a square foot. Inflation has hit schools too. But basically we get $19 million from the state, and then the local share would be generated in a couple of ways. One would be 3 additional mills that we're asking for in the millage election. We would also be moving, this is down at the bottom, 2 of our existing mills from maintenance and operation budget to our fund, to our building fund, to help pay for debt service, to our debt service fund. Those 2 mills, they're not new ones for taxpayers, just the 3 are. But we're moving those. Those were added to the maintenance operation mills in 2015 to increase teacher salaries. At the time, teachers here were making much less than people in our surrounding districts, and they approved that to get them up to $36,000 at that time. Since then, the LEARNS Act has given all teachers in the state of Arkansas a raise to $50,000, and they do fund that. So we feel like we can move those 2 mills to debt service to help pay for that, rather than asking the community for 5 additional mills. We're trying to absorb some of that too, where we feel like we can. There is sometimes a misconception when I say maintenance and operation mills. That doesn't mean all the money we use to maintain our schools. Maintenance and operation is basically everything to run a district. That's paying salaries, instructional materials. It is maintenance and transportation and all of those things. But it's basically your general fund, your general budget, and then your debt service is what you're using to pay your bond loans, which you're paying on. So we would move 2 of our existing mills, add 3 mills, and then we also have $6 million saved in our building fund from the past few years, getting ready for this project, that we can put with that. With all of those things, that gives us the borrowing power to get that other $37 million we need to go with the state's 19. So that's the funding model for this. I do want to mention, when you go vote, the ballot, it will say 5 mills in one place on the ballot. But if you keep reading, it'll talk about the 2 existing being moved, and it's 3 additional. And the bottom line does say 3 additional mills. So we're not asking for 5 additional, it's 3 additional mills. A common question is, how much does it cost you, me? I'm a taxpayer here, all of our board members are too. We're all residents of the Arkadelphia School District. An example, and this is just a general example, if your real and personal property is appraised by the assessor's office at $100,000, you multiply that by 20% to get $20,000, which is your assessed value. So whatever your appraised value is, 20% of that is your assessed value, and that's what you're taxed on. So then at $20,000 for 1 mill, that would be $20 a year. We are asking for 3, so that would be $60 for the year, 3 times 20. But it's very important to understand that every individual's taxes are different. There's a lot of different factors. Where you live, have you used all of your homestead credit, those types of things. Mona Vance is here from the assessor's office tonight. She may have to leave early, but if you don't get to ask her tonight, you can call her office, and her staff is more than happy to tell you what your approximate change would be with the millage increase. But we do have a chart here on the screen, but it's also on a handout that you have that kind of gives you some staggering amounts. Again, those vary individual to individual, but it's a good ballpark amount. So what's at stake? If the millage passes, then the district does secure the $19 million in the partnership funding to help build a new high school. Construction can move forward on that modern, safe, and secure facility. Estimated start date would be next summer, and the estimated completion date would be opening 2028 fall, and then doing demolition here. Students would stay in this school until the new one is built, hopefully, if all goes well and survive 3 more years with it. And then they would move into that school, and then this one would be demolished and turned into parking. If the village fails, we lose the $19 million in state funding. Like I said earlier, we don't get to keep it. We don't get to put it in a savings account for later. We have to return it. Well, we really don't have it yet, but we have to decline it. I'll say that. We have to decline it to the state so they can redistribute it to other districts. But because we are on the warm, safe, dry list and needs a facility replacement, we would still be contacted by the state facilities department. We would still have to have a plan for a new high school. We would just have to have a plan without state partnership. So that other $19 million would be back on us locally. And we do have a lot more information that you can access. We have a website, a web page, with different information about bonds and mills, about the facilities condition and how they determine the index. All of that's on our webpage, arkadelphiaschools.org/millage. We also have an email address set up where you can email questions, and we can get back to you individually. And if we get a lot of the same questions, we'll even add it to our Q&A, because we do have a frequently asked questions page there as well. But did want to also just kind of go over again when voting is. Actually, next week, we'll start next Wednesday, November 12th, with early voting up until the day before the election. And then on election day, Tuesday, November 18th, it'll be regular polling hours of 7:30 to 7:30. And early voting and the special election is all at the Arkadelphia Recreation Center. There'll be all different things. This will be the only thing on the ballot this November. Because we had not done the spring election, we were still required to do a millage election this year, even if it had been to stay the same. But again, we are asking for 3 additional mills to help us build a new high school for students and staff. And I do have a video I wanted to share that's just kind of a fly-through of some of the key features. Again, it's a rendering. It's not, things could change, but I'll share that with you. It's about 3 minutes, and then we will open it up for questions. So this is taking you into the front entrance, the only entrance to the school that would be used. The shared lobby here with the gymnasium to the right, auditorium to the left, and classroom corridors straight through. Downstairs is the cafeteria and the safe room. There's also a hallway linking those with the gymnasium corridor. The backyard, the safe room, and then the classroom wings. And then this would be the agricultural workspace at the end of the classroom wings. Back to the lobby and going to the proposed auditorium. There's 3 sections, a little bit of raised seating in the back. Trying to take advantage of some of the topography that we have also in the design. And then the outdoor covered practice field. And again, it's a bit closer to the bus barn on that end of the field. Inside the school. And I'm just taking you out, you can just see that this area will be converted to more parking. I just want to close the presentation segment by saying, once again, thank you for coming out. For those of you who started questions and wanted to know more, we do appreciate you coming to the meeting that we're holding and being here. And I do want to say that asking for anything, asking people to pay more, that's not an easy ask. Like I said, we're all taxpayers, we live here too, and we're putting that on ourselves too, because we feel like it's definitely needed. It's not just a want, we need to do this, especially while we have partnership funding from our state. And we just want to encourage everyone, whatever your decision is, to just go exercise your right to vote and really think about the needs of our students and our staff and our community when we do so. So at this time, I will turn it over if any board members wanted to add anything.
I want to say a couple of things. Officer Lau, how many doors do you have to check around this building on a multiple times on a daily basis to make sure they're locked and nobody bad gets in?
There's 18 exterior doors.
18.
Not to mention all the interior doors. It's all they've got.
We're very fortunate to have security resource officers on every campus. Most 4A schools our size do not have that luxury. We do, but we need to use them efficiently, and that's not a very efficient use of their time. And so safety is the main thing. And I want to add that it's not just safety for our students, it's safety for our staff, it's safety for our parents, it's safety for those that are attending an event, a presentation. For you tonight, there are no students here. There is a couple, but most of you are adults. We want to protect you as well, and certainly our staff. One of the questions I've been asked is about the parking. Why do we need so much parking? Have any of you been to a high school graduation lately? Yeah, our parking lot would never hold that right now. It won't even hold a football game, traffic. So it is very needed. It's something that's very needed. Any board members have anything they want to add?
I said this at the meeting earlier today, that when people come to the community, whether they're moving here or they're thinking about relocating a business here, everybody wants to see the high school because it's the flagship of the entire district. Ours is decrepit, to say. My daughter just graduated from here, water coming out of the ceiling. I've tried to answer questions on Facebook as much as I can to keep the lines of communication open. We've kept this building going, but every dollar we put into this building is also money that the state could take back from us out of that $19 million. So if we were to have a major repair, if Judy got the call that our cooler is out and we can't buy any more parts off of eBay because that's where we have to get them, it's so out of date, and we had to put in a new system, that money would actually go against us, and we would not get enough money if this millage doesn't pass. So there's lots at stake here. Bringing in a new high school for the community to see, bringing businesses, being able to have graduation here, not having to go to ODU and fight for parking and stagger performances so our band can present to the parents and the community. There's just so many things that this structure would do for the community. So that's all I really have.
Speaking of band, congratulations to our new state champion, Badge of Pride, Martin Band. Okay, Ms. Thomas, if you work that side, I'll work this side, and we'll take questions.
And something that Ms. White said also just triggered, I do want to say, we've been very fortunate to have our two universities in our town. Without Henderson and ODU, I'm not really sure how we could have done what we have done for so long. So we're very thankful for them and that partnership, that it will be really nice to be able to do those things for our students here in our district. So I do think we have some people from both universities here tonight. I do want to say thank you very much for what you have done to help us out.
Okay, at this time, we'll open it up for questions. If you'll raise your hand, I'll be sure to get a microphone myself or Ms. Thomas. Please.
We discussed this, the superintendent and I, before the meeting, and I don't disagree at all on the need for a new school. What I disagree with is the package that's presented. seems that we have a state that's sitting on $1 billion surplus, and they're only offering 19 million. They could fund half of this project without even breaking a sweat, just from the interest on that $1 billion they've got sitting in the state surplus. So unless there is some kind of reapproach to the state to increase the amount that the state would provide to fund at least 50% of the project. Now I will have to propose the project and encourage my neighbors to do the same.
And I think that's a call to each of you. Hold your politicians, your representatives, your senators, your governor, hold them accountable. They work for you. They work for all of us. Hold them accountable, because, this is something that we don't have a choice. This is not our choice. This is something that we're told to do. This is something that 30 years ago, even 20 years ago, was not a rule. It was better to, remodel or, put lipstick on a pig. And less than 20 years ago, they told us these new rules came about, and guess what? You have to go by them. What was not told is what happens if we don't pass a millage. And Ms. Thomas told you part of the story. And I'll be the bad cop and tell you the rest of the story. The rest of the story is that these high school students will get an education, it's guaranteed, but it may not be in Arkadelphia. So the children that are going to be Arkadelphia Badgers will no longer be Arkadelphia Badgers. That's a worst case scenario. Now, did politicians figure on that? Did they get that far when they made these rules? Probably not. But these are the rules, folks, and we have to follow them. It's not pretty. It's not an old rule. It's a very new rule in the whole scheme of things. But it's something that we are responsible for. I would love to have half. Half sounds great.
Well, and I was going to say, it's not really, it is a grant application process. We do ask for partnership funding, but we don't get to tell them how much. They tell us how much, and it's based on, they have a square footage amount, a certain percentage they fund. We actually got the highest funding of any other school this year, but we don't get to go back and ask for more. They're not going to give us more.
Well, and to that, several years ago, the district retained Dr. Stein, who is the person in the state of Arkansas when it comes to school funding. I think he actually wrote the formulas that all the school districts use, and he's been the one helping us. And at some point during the process of building these buildings, it became known to him that if we would wait and turn the money back, we would get more the next time. And we actually have done that to get more money. We have used his expertise to strain every single cent that we can. During COVID, we used ERISA funds with his expertise to get every dollar that we could, every benefit. And I agree, I would love to be able to call Sarah Huckabee up and ask for more money, but that's not where we are, and even if we could do that, it would be years, and we don't have that kind of time. We have this $19 million. Do we have the date that we have to say yes or they take it back? We have until May. So we have to tell them yes so we get that $19 million. Otherwise, we're looking at trying to fund all of a new construction.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How would that work if the millage doesn't pass? You talk about coming up with other funds. You talk about shipping kids to other places to go to school. What is the next course of operation if the millage doesn't pass? I've got a couple of questions too.
We have $6 million in our building fund that we would be able to use probably to replace not even one of our full systems out here. I think the state has estimated $19 million to even potentially get us off of this list, but we don't have that $19 million. We've been able to save $6 million. Even building the 2 buildings we've already built, we've been able to save $6 million to put towards this. But if something were to happen, I mean, that money that's where it would go. That's all we have. Nikki can talk to more, the other options we have available.
Really what would happen immediately is the state facilities department would have to reach out to me to come up with a plan. Again, because they have rated our school at a level that said that replacing systems, repairing systems is not prudent, they would want to plan for a new school. So it would most likely have to be an extremely bare bones, downsized school that does not meet our needs, to be quite honest about it, if we didn't want it all. The timing, you know, we were successful in this last funding cycle to get a little bit more. They did allocate some in the 2023 funding cycle, but we were trying to build a new elementary school and felt like we needed to complete that project before starting another. And we were able to get a little bit more this time because they did raise it from $250 to $278 a square foot on their partnership side. But the problem, I think Mr. King would tell you, is that, like she said, if our chiller goes out, if our system goes out, and we then replace the whole HVAC system, then the state, when they do their next inspection, they'll say, oh, you replaced that system, so we're not going to give you however many million that would have been to do that in a new school. They start taking money away in a future funding cycle. The more you do, and it does not make sense and it's not fair and it doesn't seem right, but the more you do to repair and keep your school building going, you get kind of docked on that, on your total funding.
You had another question, I believe.
Yes, the presentation was great, the new proposed facilities, great. It'd be nice to have all that, but you're coming to the people of Clark County to ask for a millage increase. How much money would we save if we didn't have a 60-yard practice facility? How much would that lower? Could we go down to 2 mills, or maybe 1 mill? And it looked like there were some other things, as nice as they would be, given the situation we find ourselves in, do we have to be quite so extravagant in what we're doing?
I'm happy to start this conversation. Unfortunately, we had to come and ask for an additional village, but guys, we knew that 10 years ago. We knew that we were behind the 8 ball in Arkadelphia because nobody has built a building since before I was born, and I'm 51. So we already knew we were behind the 8 ball. We're playing catch up, and unfortunately, we're the taxpayers who get to play catch up. The auditorium, the arena, those things are required. There's a certain amount of square footage we have to have. The auditorium has to have enough seats to hold our student body. The arena, they only pay for the floor, so we have to pay for seating. If you understand what it's like to build an arena and no seating, walk on over to Goza because we didn't have the funding there. And that's one of the main gripes we get from parents is there's nowhere to sit over there because we didn't have enough funds at that time. I had a child in band and not only in band, but she was in cheer. And come out here in August and watch the kids in our state champion band or in our state champion football program sit out here in 100-degree heat and then go to the hospital because it's too hot because they're practicing on black asphalt. I assure you, this was not the Cadillac plan. I wish I could show y'all the Cadillac plan that the architects brought us. It looked like the Taj Mahal. We told them no. We cut down and cut down and cut down to what we think we need to build to attract students, to attract businesses, and we're not planning on coming back and asking for a while. My gosh, we went all these years without building buildings. So this has to last us a long time. And that's why we see the covered practice facility. I'll tell you right now, that man standing right there would love to have seen softball and baseball fields included in this on our own campus, but we don't have the money. So we've done what we can. We've cut back from what some of the presentations were. Right?
Yeah, and I agree with everything, and I agree with your question. It's a very good question, by the way, and it's something that we struggle with. Do you put a half-hearted approach into it? And if you're only going to build a building every 53 years, I can tell you, I'm 53 years old. And if the building feels like I feel most days, it needs to be replaced. I think I'm about 8% over my life expectancy. But no, very good point. And there's a lot of things that we could add to it. But like, Ms. White said, when you don't build something for 50-something years at all, you get behind. And the rules that we have in place now weren't there 50 or 40 or 30 or even 20 years ago. They're there now. And I think it's something that, a lot of people look at other communities and they compare other communities to us. For example, Hot Springs, we're all familiar with Hot Springs, just built a brand new high school. State of the art. A lot more amenities than what we're asking for. And they did not pass a millage. They did not need a millage, an additional millage. Does anyone know why? Yeah, racetrack by itself could probably pay for the whole thing. But it's relative, just like your personal property assessment is relative to your situation. Our town, our community, and I've seen some people that, compare the two, and it's apples to oranges. We don't have the real estate, we don't have the assessment that Hot Springs National Park, Arkansas has, or Northwest Arkansas, Bentonville, or a lot of these towns that, when you look at the higher millage places, they're one of two things. They're either schools like us that are old and have to be replaced by state law, or they are growing at an outstanding pace. Some of your smaller, more rural schools, they need more room. We're the first example of that. And so we're replacing old stuff. And have any of you built a home for yourself in the last 10 years? Built a home? About how much did it cost you per square foot to build that home? Do you remember? Yeah, say 125, something like that, dollars square foot maybe? Yeah. You can build probably right now, and there's people in here that know more about this than I do, but you could probably build a very nice home for $175 a square foot. Our new high school is going to cost $400 a square foot, and that's not out of choice, that's out of requirement.
Can I also add, my Miss Terry can attest to this. Malvern always gets compared to us because they have some nice facilities and they're the same size. I confirmed this with Ms. Vance. We have two extremely large universities that we love, but guys, that's not calculated into property tax. Neither are schools, the college campuses, the churches, cemeteries, all of those things are taken out of our real estate. Those folks don't pay taxes, and we love our universities, but we're missing out on all that property.
The trade-off, if you live in Hot Springs, yeah, you don't have any mills, but you pay 3 times what it costs to have a home here.
Yeah.
Chris Pack.
Yeah, I appreciate that question too. And one of the things that I think of when it talks about the bells and whistles, do you need that type of arena or the nice auditorium and things like that? The thing that I thought is, and I've been to a lot of these districts that we around us in our conference that have similar facilities, and unfortunately in this day and age we're in a competition for students as well. And so this arena 15 years ago would have been considered out of any realm of possibility for our school because they just weren't around. And now, just in our conference, I think there are three or four very similar facilities that host AAA state and regional tournaments. So 10 or 15 years ago, this type of arena and the practice facility and things like that, I do think would have been considered bells and whistles that districts like, you're wasting money. But now, since we are in a competitive environment for students, anything we build is going to be going towards that as well. So I do understand that this is going to be viewed somewhat as, could be viewed as wasteful or extravagant. But compared to a lot of the places, I mean, Hot Springs High School, we mentioned, we go to these places when my kids play events or we broadcast events. There are some fantastic facilities around the state of Arkansas and even in South Arkansas. And so in order to maintain, stay on path, on par, and maybe exceed some of those, because you are attracting students as well. So I don't know if that helps or not your thoughts, but that is one of the things you're dealing with as well from my perspective as a parent.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Severe weather is one of my biggest concerns. I'm a Sky One spotter for the National Weather Service, and more volunteer my time for the National Weather Service. For the storm shelter, will it be able to hold the entire student body?
Yes, it will hold actually double that. I think 1,180 people could fit. So if we had an event going on in our arena at the time with spectators too, it would hold 1,180. But it primarily be for student use during the day, but it also, I can't remember if the slide said this, and I didn't say it out loud, but our local law enforcement is also willing to open it for the community after hours if they feel like there is a dire need out, on this side of town.
And not only this one, but the one that is over at Peak as well. Those are both, we voted, our board unanimously to open those up to the community anytime that there is a need. Everything, look, as taxpayers, you pay for what we're asking for, okay? That's why you're here, that's why we're here. It needs to belong to the taxpayers. And the children that are going to be here are going to represent you, the taxpayers. Hopefully, in our state legislature, one of these days, that make these rules a little more operable.
So I have a question down here.
Brett?
Somewhere down
Oh.
here.
Here, okay, got two.
Thank you, Blake. We need a new high school. We also need a better curriculum. And I applaud the board and the administration for what they're doing. But there's another equation here that we've got to look at. And that's the cost to the citizens of the district. Now, property taxes have gone up. I will admit it. Because the appraisal went up. My appraisal this year, with no improvements to my property in the past 5 years, has gone up 40%. That's on a homestead. Not only that, we have another problem. The school district gets a rate increase along with the appraisal. Does it not? Because they use the county's appraisal for setting how much to tax the citizens. And I think about my kids, my grandkids, and what are they going to end up with as these appraisals keep going up. Even though it may be necessary to pay for that high school, which is beautiful. It's beautiful, but I don't want to be Hot Springs. I want to be Arkadelphia. So with my appraisal going up that high, my kids is going up that high. I am lucky. I am lucky. It's homestead. I'm over 65. So my taxes don't go up. But my kids do. My grandkids will. Because we need to look at that when we start looking at items such as the new school. I would rather see 5, 6 new classrooms teaching life sciences instead of that field out there that doesn't exist now. And the kids are doing pretty damn good out there. But But there's another factor too. The millage increase. That will go on in perpetuity. After the high school is paid for, that millage increase is going to be. Don't see anything there as a proposal to cut the millage increase after the high school is paid for. Maybe there will be other things to buy at that time. Because there's a long list of things that the schools actually would love to have. I would love to have, but can we afford it? I would like to, I don't want them to answer right now. I'd like for them to go back and discuss it themselves. And maybe see another view. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I want to say one thing before I hand off to that. We bought buses for our district. We bought 5 new school buses in 2020. They were $100,000 a piece. We financed them for several years. $100,000 5 years ago. We bought new buses this year, not as many. They were $140,000.
First, let me just thank y'all for putting this on. I've been seeing a lot of discussion and hearing a lot of discussion back and forth, and there were a lot of questions, and a lot of them have been answered here. Big part of my question was very similar to what's going on over here, and that is, there's a big difference, it appears to be, between the needs and the wants. A big difference between the needs and the wants. But some of it was answered tonight, okay? You know, I wonder, why do we need this big fancy arena? Well, if we have to tear down the old gym, then we've got to have a place. I get that. But again, could it not be scaled back a little farther? I moved here 8 years ago from Tampa. Biggest reason I moved here was because it'd be cheaper to retire here than to retire in Tampa. Taxes were so much lower. I had family here who's been here since the 70s, so that was a reason to come back. But all that's happened since I've been here, taxes have gone up and up and up. I'm not sure that it's cheaper to live here now than it was to live in Tampa. So we really need you guys to understand where we are. That covered field is an extravagance. Look around this room. Most of us have some silver in their hair. We didn't play band and march band on a covered field. So the whole boo-hoo for our kids that get too hot, asphalt, I understand. Don't want them on asphalt. But how many million does that covered thing cost? You guys know. Can you answer that right now? How many extra millions is that covered practice field?
Pull that one out, and I believe it was around 3 to 4 million.
3 to 4 million. So roughly 5% of the total bill on that. Is that correct? Is the 19 million based on a $62 million cost as a percentage? If our cost came down to 50 million, would we still get to keep the 19?
Yes, the state partnership funding is for this project.
Okay, regardless of the cost of the project.
Yes, we do have a minimum amount we have to do square footage from the
Right. Okay, I understand all that. So what we need to be doing is continuing and listening. We've got some nice to haves here that we're going to have to pay for. And right after this huge property tax increase and the other things that are going on, this is a really bad time to be looking for extravagances. You need to scale it back. I read through all the stuff online, and it said if this doesn't pass, that you have to put something else together and go back to the state with a new plan. If you want to keep the 19 million, whatever there is.
That's without the 19 million, sir.
Pardon?
But that would be after we would not secure the 19 million.
Well, you've got until May to come up with a plan that will qualify. Okay? That's 7 months. So if this doesn't pass, you go back and you scale it back again. And you say, okay, we really don't have to spend 62 million. We can do without some of these things, and we can spend 50 million. And maybe you can get more money out of the state, as this gentleman over here was suggesting in the meantime, and say, hey, look, the first one didn't pass, guys. If you want us to do something, we're going to do our part and scale back. But you need to do your part and cough up some of that extra money. And bring down that tax increase. I have business here in town. And I've been talking to other business owners. And they're all struggling right now. Especially the last 3 or 4 months. And I have to wonder how much of that is because people had to come up with extra dollars to pay for their property taxes by October 15th. $300 or $400 extra dollars on a person who's retired on a fixed income is a lot of money. They're not going to spend that in my restaurant. They're not going to spend that someplace else. They don't have it because the government just took it from them. I hope you're hearing what people are saying. Yes, it's nice to have these things and when we're competing for students, I don't know how much that really goes on. As a parent, that was never my concern for my kids. It was academics. And that they were in a safe, warm, and dry environment. But I wasn't looking to see if they had a covered pavilion. I wasn't looking to see if they had this huge arena where they were going to play basketball. I don't think I'm the only one that feels this way. It's too bad we're so far down the road in this process before we get to really express how we feel about it.
Thank you for that. I'll not rebut what you said because I understand. And I graduated from high school here in 1990 along with Ms. Thomas. And water made you weak if you were a football player in 1990. We've come a long way from that train of thought. Not because saving money or lowering taxes or even keeping taxes the same was a consideration. It's not. We're a product of our environment. Our environment is competition. It is competition for students. It's competition for dollars. Mr. Babb represents Ouachita Baptist. He has in the past represented Arkadelphia Public Schools. And he knows that he has to compete for dollars in a small town with Arkadelphia Public Schools and Henderson State University. It's the town that we live in. It's part of it. We're blessed to have what we have. I will say that we're doing a lot of making up for lost time. And is that our fault? No. Do we care why? No. Is it our problem? Yes, sir, it is. It's what we were elected to do. It's what we are passionate about. Working for free. 2 of our board members will have a child that will spend a year or maybe 2 in a new school if it were here. The other 5 board members, some are not here, do not have a child that will benefit from this. All of us on our school board, I believe probably most of us in our faculty, are property owners in this community. And maybe we've been lucky for the last 50 years. But we're here now. We know what is required, which is not always fair. We also know that if we don't make some sacrifices now, then all we're doing is kicking the can down the road for another administration and another board. Sorry that you have to be a part of that process, but this is our community and this is something that we have had a master plan to build these new facilities since 2018. And 2 of the 3 are built. This was part of our plan to build. We are going to do everything in our power to build it. And this is the part that we hate the most, is having to ask for help. I don't mind asking for Officer Lau's help. I don't mind, sometimes I question, but I don't mind asking Mr. King to come out here and find somebody to patch the roof again. But it breaks our hearts to have to come to our taxpayers and say, we're making up for 50 years of lost time. We're not trying to be extravagant. Some things look extravagant, and believe me, some of the things I came from just 35 years ago in public schools, this is extravagant. But it is the world that we live in now, and unfortunately, we're a part of it. I won't say unfortunately, but it is the job that we were asked to do, and we're going to do it to the best of our ability. Now, everyone is not going to be happy with it, but we hope that there is a majority that will be favorable to what we're doing, but we certainly understand those that aren't.
I would encourage you all to reach out to Mona and her office. I asked her before this meeting started what my personal taxes were going to go up. And she told me the amount, and it's the equivalent of a 12-pack and a 24-pack of Diet Cokes a month. These kids in this community and our teachers are worth me not getting a 24-pack and a 12-pack of Diet Cokes for the month. That's the equivalent of mine.
But
So
what about the folks who have already given up the 24-pack? They did that when the last millage increase, when the property taxes went up. What about those folks that have already given that up?
That was me too, sir. That was all of us. That was the whole, I've lived through my life.
But you reach a point where you say enough is enough, not one penny more.
And I understand. Unfortunately, we have to give a warm, safe, and dry school for our children. And that's where we are. Because
But this is more than warm, safe, and dry. Would you not agree? I mean, you did a while ago. You basically said we don't have to have it, but we want to have it.
That's not exactly what I said. I said the original plan, there were many more options we were given, and we kept cutting down to what we felt like was a viable plan that would take us for many, many years in an extremely competitive environment. I don't think the general public understands the competition of the children that leave the district for various reasons. One of the reasons we have FFA is because we had children leaving the district. Well, when we voted to have FFA, that meant we had to build a facility to have FFA. So when we respond to the community to give them what they want, now we're asking to help us give our students a school.
Ms. Thomas?
Question back there.
I just wanted to comment on that practice field, just because, my background is in pediatrics and the medical clinic here that does pediatrics, and my thought is that, it's 3 million or maybe 4 million, but what if we have kids who are overheated and end up with all the complications you can have from that, and then we're sued as a school district, which, to be honest, in this age, that's a likely outcome. That's going to cost the district millions right there, and so while it might seem extravagant because that's not what we had growing up, again, it's like things are different now. And so if we can avoid that litigation surrounding, practicing in heat, and it's more the heat that I worry about than anything, but I saw plenty of times that athletes or kids who had just got in band or whatever came. What if they faint and hit their heads? That's the minimal, but what if they end up with kidney failure and all those things that have to be treated for a period of time? That's a whole different ballgame. So to me, 3 to 4 million out of 62 seems worth it. So I just want to make that comment.
Please. Mr. Simmons,
I'd like to thank the board and Ms. Thomas for all the effort they've done. Everything looks great. But my question is, what are you going to do if it doesn't pass? Do you have a backup plan? How much money do you have without the millage to build a phase one of the new high school.
Well, we would have, we would come back to the drawing board, not all the way back, but we do have a strategic planning meeting scheduled for after the election, depending on the outcome, on what direction we would need to go, but that would be a discussion with our financial advisor, our facilities advisor, and our board before we came public with the new plan.
For example, you could eliminate the safe room by making safe corridors.
We can't.
Double up.
They actually require us to have a safe room now in the buildings that are being built.
Safe corridors don't count? Corridors.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't understand what you
Plus,
said.
that also gives you safety for your security as well, from a shooter coming down the corridor. So there are options you can do to cut some of the costs if you need to. You already got the cost, yeah, you decrease the cost of water, but it eliminates the cost of $2-3 million safer.
How much was it? Do we all have some safer?
I have to go back. I don't remember.
I'm gonna answer your question, Jerry, as best I can from a board perspective. And have we thought of this? Absolutely. It keeps us awake at night every night. We would go back and completely regroup, is what we would do. The state has a lot of what is in this plan as required. Square footage based on number of students, square footage and the safety, there might be some other options. But we would come back together as a collective group and do the best thing that we could for our students. I don't want you to get the wrong impression. Our job is not to take care of our taxpayers. Our job is to take care of our students. It is to educate our students to the best of our ability. If that means better facilities, then that's what that means, within the guidelines and the rules and the laws. If it means that we are trying to compete to keep those students and keep those dollars that go with those students, then that's what we're going to do. I don't want anyone to get the wrong impression, and we're glad that all of you are here, but you are not our number one focus. Our number one focus is an educated student body. And everything that goes along with that, to help that process within our means, we are going to try to do for our students. Everyone's not going to be happy with it. I'm not happy with paying taxes. I'm not happy with paying you new taxes. And I certainly understand that if we could just say, no more, a gallon of milk is never going to go up again. It ain't happening. Forget it. I'm never drinking milk again. Never going to drive a car again because it's going to be $20,000 more 5 years from now. I hate it. We all hate it. We all hate that the price of building a dadgum school is $400 a square foot. We didn't make that rule. That's not our rule. There are schools out there that cost $600 a square foot because that's what they choose above and beyond the mandated $400. We want what is best for our students because they are going to represent our community for the rest of our lives. There are 3 generations represented in this room right now, on average. And each of our 3 generations that are represented here have seen drastic changes in the world around you and the cost of doing business from one generation gap to the next. I mean, if my grandfather, bless his heart, was alive today, you got a car that parks itself? That's just the world that we're living in. If we do not get this to pass, Jerry, we will do everything everything possible by us to get the next best thing. Mr. Hampton?
Thank you. I'm Michael Hampton, if you don't know me. I teach at the middle school. and I serve your county as a justice of the peace currently. One thing that I've seen and I've noticed that as a citizen and as an elected official that bothers me sometimes is that we have this mentality to do the bare minimum because it's convenient right now. And it's not my issue 10 years from now. No matter me, I won't be here. I don't care. If we really want to focus on children and actually doing something that's better for the future, you can't have the mentality of thinking about what's the most convenient and easiest option right now. And I see that in county government. I see that in the community. We look at something and say, well, we'll just make this work right now today, and I'm not going to be here tomorrow. So somebody else better figure that out, right? And I think that's so selfish of us. That's so selfish when we think that we're the only people that matter at that moment. I teach children every day, and I would never walk in my classroom and say, I'm not teaching y'all anything because I don't feel like it. You know, I'll put a video on. That's the next teacher in the next grade's problem that I didn't teach you anything all year. That's not my problem. You'll catch up next year, hopefully. That's selfish of me. That's so selfish. It would be convenient. It'd be easy. But I know every day I come in and add in the extra hours, add in the extra time, do all the things that make kids interested in learning, try to keep them interested in coming to school in the first place, because they don't want to come to school, get them interested in learning. It takes a lot of work to get them here. And it is true about the competition for students. These kids have a lot of options now. I mean, they can look at it, they can pretty much go anywhere. We want to stay competitive, and we've added so many things. I mean, I tell my students all the time, you can do more things in school than I ever could. I mean, either you did band, choir, athletics, art. That's it. If you didn't fit in those 4 boxes, you know, kind of, oh, well, you didn't do anything. But now you can do so many different things. And it keeps them interested, it keeps them on their toes, and we get to see students flourish in the things they've never been before. A school like this matches the 2 schools we already have. They'll go from Peak to Goza and then enter this facility and be let down. They'll be used to state-of-art facilities, programs, and access to materials they didn't have and come to the high school, and I would imagine being shell-shocked. That's what I would think. I think that, yes, it kind of seems like some of these things do look a little fancy, but when I think about the schools that are around us, that's about what people expect to see. That's what people expect to see. And being in county government, I know when these businesses come and they're looking for places to settle, and they come up here and they see that this is where we prepare the next people to come into the community, they're probably thinking, maybe the next community over might have a better facility. And people will probably be more attracted here. Especially when I'm putting my business here and people want to move here and live here and put their students here. So I think that it's very, very imperative that we pay very close attention to what is added, understand that, but try not to be, and I don't mean to say that with a sharp tongue, but selfish in the fact of just build what we need. I don't want to do any more. Just build exactly what we need, and that'll be fine. Because that's just simply not fair. Because if I say, well, I didn't have it, so you don't need it, that's not, to me, it's not a strong enough case to say no, personally. I don't think that's strong enough to say no. It's strong enough to consider and think and go into deep reflection as we've asked the board to do, which I don't think they made any of these decisions out of haste. I think that I went to the school board meetings. This is not the first time they started funding this school. I go to school board meetings. They've been cutting it back since they got the first plan. They've cut back just about as much as you can cut back and still be fair and be competitive and continue on things that they have. And we elected them because we said we trust them and their vision. So now we owe them that trust. Just like you trusted me to do the best that I can with your tax dollars for the county, and I hope that I've done that for you. So please, try not to be so aggressive towards the idea, because it needs to happen, and it's going to happen. Please keep children in mind when you're thinking of a school. Please don't focus on me. Focus on them, because that's who it's for. I've already went to school, and I don't teach high school. This isn't for me, but I want it for everybody else. So, thank you.
Ms. Thomas knows this, and this is one of the things that our board is challenged with. We have to be challenged with choices that were made in the past, choices that are being made today, and choices that will be made when we're no longer here. So our decisions exist on those three levels. And unfortunately, we can't do anything about the first one. We can't do anything about what was done in the past other than make up lost ground. We really don't know what's foreseeable in the future. We know things are going to be more expensive. They're going to be more technology oriented. They're going to be more AI. There's going to be more autonomous driving cars and whatever. But we don't know. So one we can't control, one we really don't know, and what's right in front of us is the decision that we have to make. And that decision is, okay, we want what's best, but we can't make the same mistakes that were made before, and we have to anticipate things that are going to be so we don't leave the ones in front of us holding the bag. Thank you, Mr. Hampton. Anyone else? We want to hear from you. We'll be here as long as we need to be. Say that again, Mr. Bennett.
I would just say doing nothing got us here.
Well, yeah. If that were a slogan, Mr. Hampton, I think, is running for office. I think that might be a good slogan. Doing nothing is what got us here.
It actually is, because if you are around when the last construction, before these two new buildings, it was the millage back in like 2000. We were told that we couldn't play football at Henderson anymore, and we were going to have to do something. So our doing something was building the arena, our football field, but we had to have buildings for the high school kids, so we added on to this and tried to make the best of it, and that was 25 years ago, and we didn't have the foresight then maybe we were dealing with the situation at hand, which was we don't have a stadium and we've got to do this, and we're moving ninth grade to the high school, and we have to have extra space. And that's kind of set the tone, and now we're here and we had to have all new buildings. And I'm glad we have all of that. That was the choice right then, but the idea that we're going to cut $1 million and that's going to really affect a mill vote, I don't think that $1 or $2 million in the grand scheme of things. I'm not a financial person, but my guess is that would be like taking $1,000 to $2,000 off your $140,000 house. I don't know that it's going to make a huge difference in our payment that we make every month. And while we're building it, it's not like we're going to get to come back and ask for money again. I mean, this is going to have to take us well into the future.
Yeah, we won't try to make things easier on those that are following us up. I want to say a couple of things on behalf of the board, and I know they all agree with this. Mr. Jason Holzclaw is here representing Stephen's group out of Little Rock. They do our financing for us. They have for years and years. Not only do they offer us a lending arm, but they also advise us on what is the most efficient path for our students, for our district, and for you, the taxpayers. So, yeah, the knee-jerk reaction, I would say, probably is, hey, let's roll out 5 mills and put 2 of them in our pocket, and that way we can just build whatever we want whenever we want it. But we've gone to Mr. Holzclaw, and we've gone to Stevens, and we've said, look, we've got to get the most out of this, man. And he does. And he's here tonight. He was here today at noon. And he'll be here tomorrow if we need him. That's the dedication that they've given to us. Ms. Mona Vance with the assessor's office. I don't know how many assessors spend their time doing things like this, but ours does, and that's all that matters. And so her door is always open, but it's, if I can say this in a normal way, it's even more open now because we do have these issues in front of us. Would we have preferred for us not to have a reassessment 6 months before this? Absolutely. Can we do anything about it? No. We can't. We don't make those rules. Thank you, Mona, for being here. Thank you for opening up your office. And if you want to know what the dollars are instead of the idea, she's the person to talk to. There's also, what I learned, is a committee that we have that actually you can, if you have a problem with your assessment, that you can have a hearing in front of, and they will hear to make sure that your assessment is proper. Is that correct? Do I understand that right? If you have a question about that, if you feel like you've been treated unfairly, that committee is the ones that you need to talk to. I want to personally thank my fellow board members. Tough decisions that affect their businesses, affect their families, affect their friendships, and they put that aside for their purpose in being here. Thank you so much for being here. Ms. Thomas, Mr. King, Mr. Lau, everyone in our staff, everyone that has plugged holes, moved buckets, sent out the bat signal for Batman to come and get rid of all of our rodents. The folks that have sat in that hot gym and watched the volleyball game in August and answered questions about from the other side, coming over here going, man, this place is a dump. Y'all don't have air conditioning? They have it at Malvern. Yeah, they do. They also have some of our students. Any other questions? Any other comments? Anybody just want to stand up and scream a little bit or anything? Oh, come on.
Good evening. I'm Louis Shepard, and I must admit something that probably you will have forgotten. 25 years ago, in the year 2000, Dr. Mark Jansen and I co-chaired the millage increase for Arkadelphia Public Schools. And that brought the amphitheater, the football stadium, additions to, I believe, transportation for safety measures and for the high school. And sir, I agree with all of you. Taxes hit me hard this year. It's been rough. But as Mr. Anderson said, we've got to look beyond today. Our student body, citizens, kids, comprise only 22% of the population of America. That's all, 22%. But they are 100% of our future. And we've got to prepare for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shepard. Lastly, and I think you guys have gotten a lot of information. I know that there's a lot more information that you can get to. I'd ask you just a couple of things. One, don't depend on someone else to take action. Do it yourself. The first school board election that I ran in, I was opposed. And at the end of the night, me and my opponent were tied. We were tied. Never happened before. Never happened in the history of Arkadelphia School Board elections. Had two candidates tied for the league. Now, we had a runoff. But there was a teacher, and I'm not going to call her name because it would embarrass her. She's not in this room. Retired teacher, a teacher that I had, asked me to run for the school board. Asked me. Begged me. I turned it down. Man. She didn't vote. She didn't vote. And I lost in a runoff by 3 votes. And there were other people that I thought, they would have voted for me, but they didn't vote. We got this. Don't assume that we've got this. Go vote. If you're opposed to it, that's your right. Go vote. But if you are in favor of this, please do not assume that someone else is going to do it for you. Go vote. And while you're going to vote, I want you to think about what Mr. Hankton said. Who am I doing this for? I earn the right to vote. But what am I voting for? And then get in there and pull that lever. Thank you for being here. Joel, thank you for live streaming on behalf of the Arkadelphian. We appreciate your coverage of it. Kelly Short, we appreciate the endorsement that your chamber and Alliance gave us earlier. And we appreciate everything that those in favor, those in opposition, we appreciate you being here tonight.
Yard signs, like yard signs, if anybody's interested, are they still out there, the yard sign?
Mr. If you would like a yard sign, I'll be at the table after we finish, and we're trying to get those in highly populated areas, highly trafficked areas. Understand if you're not for it, you don't need to take a sign, that's okay. But we have enough at the office. If we run out at the chamber office, we are able to get those to you. So just thank you for being here.
Shelley, just real quick, in a couple of short words, how much does it mean when someone is coming to look at putting business into Arkadelphia? How much does it mean to have attractive schools, competitive schools? Does it make much of a difference there?
Absolutely. Part of every prospect visit is you take the prospect around the community. They want to see where their employees or people that already work for their company may be living and working. And we do the loop. We go downtown. We take them to see the sites. We do all of the things. We take them to OBU in Henderson. We show them beautiful Peak and Goza, and then we come to the high school. And it's often of me, what's the plan for this facility? What are we going to do? We see two that are really, really nice showcase type facilities, not just for the purpose of looking great, it's because that is providing for our students and giving them the best shot at an opportunity. And so it is extremely important that we're able to compete with other areas around the state, around the country, in how we are educating students. Even though it may seem like, a practice field is not that important, or maybe a fine arts area is not that important. If it's your child, it is that important. You want them to have the fine arts experience that they would get at any other institution around. You would want them to have the career and tech capabilities to be able to go to a class that is tailor-made for them, as far as if they're wanting to be in welding, or if they're wanting to pursue a career at one of our industrial facilities, that they can receive some training that will give them a leg up. You want that for your own children. And so I know that Mr. Hankton spoke about, taking that into consideration. I would also just like to encourage you to think about that from just a business perspective. I know that costs are a consideration everywhere, but when companies are looking at our community, they are looking at, are we investing in ourselves? Are our people investing in the facilities, the programs, the pathways that are going to make a difference in our community? And if we're not, we really cannot expect anybody else to come here and want to invest in our community. So I would just encourage you to think about that as well.
Thank you, Shelley. And I think as we wrap up tonight, whether it's our school district or whether it's our economic development, we want people that come into our city, whether they have students or not, we want them to come into our city and know what we in Arkadelphia prioritize. Do we prioritize a winning football team? Yeah, sure. How about a winning band? You betcha. Love it. Is it the top of our priorities? No, it is not. It's part of the process of educating our students. We educate them, we fulfill them, we round them to where they can do a number of different things competitively, in a world that is getting more expensive and more competitive every day. Thank you for being here. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
So moved. 7:05.